Captain Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the mining ship New Seoul, watching the stars through the main window. The ship was huge, but it felt small in the endless space around them. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations. The soft hum of machines filled the air. "Captain, we have finished loading the last of the mineral containers," said Park Ji-woo from his engineering station. Ji-woo was a small man with quick hands and a sharp mind. He had been working on starships since he was 20 years old. "Good work, Ji-woo. How much did we get this time?" Dae-ho asked. "Enough rare minerals to keep Earth happy for 6 months?" "Maybe more," Dae-ho nodded. The mining operation in the Kepler 442 system had been going well for 3 years. His crew knew their work, and they trusted each other. That was important when you were so far from home. Lee So-young looked up from her communication station. She was young, but very smart about languages and alien studies. "Captain, I am getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors." "What kind of strange?" Dae-ho walked over to her station. "Something big is coming toward us. Really big. But it does not look like any ship I have seen before." Choi Min-ho, the security chief, stood up from his chair. He was a big man with scars on his hands from old fights. "How big are we talking?" About So-young checked her screens again. "At least 10 times bigger than our ship, maybe more." The bridge became quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing. In 3 years of mining, they had never seen another ship in this system. "Put it on the main screen," Dae-ho said. The front window changed to show space ahead of them. At first, there was nothing. Then So-young adjusted the view, and they all saw it. The ship was not made of metal like human ships. It looked like it was grown instead of built. The hull was dark green and black with strange patterns on the surface. It moved through space like a living thing. "By all the gods," Gi-woo whispered. "What is that thing?" "First contact," So-young said. Her voice was excited but nervous. "Captain, this is really happening. We're meeting aliens." Dae-ho had fought in wars before he became a mining captain. He had seen many strange things in dangerous situations, but this was different. This was history being made. "Everyone stay calm," he said. "Min-ho, get our weapons ready, but do not target them. So-young, try to send a peaceful greeting message. We make sure our engines are working perfectly." Alien ship got closer and closer. Soon it was so big that it blocked out the stars. The New Seoul looked like a small boat next to a whale. "Captain, they are sending us a message," So-young said. "It is not in any human language, but my computer is trying to translate it." "What does it say?" "It says, prepare for boarding. Submit to inspection. Resistance will result in destruction." Min-ho put his hand on his weapon. "It does not sound very friendly." "Wait," Dae-ho said. "Let me think about this." The alien ship moved closer until it was right next to the New Seoul. Then something amazing happened. Part of the alien ship opened up like a mouth and reached out to grab their ship. The New Seoul shook as the alien ship held them tight. "They have us," Ji-woo said. "Their ship is much stronger than ours." "Captain, something is happening to our airlock," Min-ho reported. "They are connecting to our ship." Dae-ho made a decision. "Everyone listen carefully. We are going to meet these aliens face to face. Be polite, but do not show fear. Show them that humans are not weak. But do not start a fight unless I give the order." The airlock door opened with a loud sound. Cold air came in from the alien ship. Then they heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps. The first alien to enter the New Seoul was huge. She stood almost 9 feet tall. Her skin looked like armor made of dark green and black plates. Her arms were long and strong with claws at the end of her fingers. Her face was sharp and angular with bright yellow eyes. Behind her came 4 more aliens, all almost as big as she was. They carried weapons that looked like swords but glowed with energy. The first alien looked around the bridge. Her yellow eyes studied each human carefully. When she looked at Dae-ho, she seemed to recognize that he was the leader. "I am War Prime Zella of the Velkari Empire," she said. Her voice was deep and strong. Somehow, the humans could understand her words. are the leader of this small vessel. I am Captain Kim Daeho. This is my ship and my crew. Welcome aboard the New Soul." Zella seemed surprised that he spoke calmly to her. Most species she had met before were afraid when they first saw the Valkyrie. "Your welcome is not needed, human. I am here to claim this system for the Valkyrie Empire. Your species will submit to our rule or be destroyed. Those are your only choices." Sol-Young stepped forward a little. "War Prime Zella, we are peaceful miners. Do not want to fight anyone. Maybe we can find a way to share this system." Zella looked at So-Young with interest. "You speak of sharing? This is a concept we do not practice. The strong take what they want. The weak serve or die." "But what if there is another way?" So-Young asked. "There is no other way. Throughout the galaxy, all species follow this rule. The Valkyrie are the strongest, so we rule." Daeho listened to this conversation carefully. He was learning about these aliens. They seemed to believe that strength was the only thing that mattered, but he could see something else in Zella's eyes. She was testing them, trying to understand what humans were like. "War Prime Zella," Daeho said, "what happens if we refuse to submit? Then you die. It is simple. What happens if we agree to serve you? Then you work for the Empire. You mine these asteroids and give everything to us. You live, but you are not free." Daeho thought about this. Neither choice was good for his crew or for humanity. But maybe there was a third choice that Zella had not considered. "I understand your position," he said, "but I cannot accept either of those options." Zella's eyes became angry. She had never heard anyone refuse her before. In one quick motion, she drew her energy blade. The weapon hummed with power and glowed bright blue. She held the blade close to Daeho's throat. "You will submit, human, or you will die right now." The bridge became very quiet. Minho started to move forward, but Daeho held up his hand to stop him. Jiwoo and So-Young watched in fear, but Daeho did not look afraid. Instead, he looked at Zella with calm eyes. Then he did something that shocked everyone on the bridge. He reached up slowly and wrapped his hand around the energy blade. The weapon should have cut through his hand like paper, but somehow his skin did not burn. His hand did not get cut. Zella stared in amazement. In all her years as a warrior, she had never seen anyone touch an energy blade with bare skin. Daeho looked directly into her yellow eyes. A small smile appeared on his face. "You sure you want to go there?" he asked quietly. Zella stared at the human captain's hand wrapped around her energy blade. The weapon that could cut through steel plates was being held by bare human skin. This was impossible. In all her years of conquest across the galaxy, no living being had ever touched a Valkyrie energy blade without being killed instantly. "How are you doing this?" she demanded, her voice filled with confusion and anger. Daeho kept his grip on the blade steady. His hand was warm but not burning. "Maybe the question is why you think I cannot do this." The other Valkyrie warriors on the bridge shifted nervously. They had never seen their War Prime look uncertain before. Minho and the other human crew members watched in amazement as their captain held the deadly weapon. "Release my blade, human," Zella ordered. "Will you put it away if I do?" Daeho asked. Zella hesitated. She was the strongest warrior in the Valkyrie fleet. She had conquered hundreds of worlds. But this small human was making her question everything she knew about strength and power. "You are some kind of machine," she said finally. "Your hand is not real flesh." Daeho smiled and let go of the blade. Then he held up his hand for her to see. The skin was normal human skin, with small scars and calluses from years of work. He pressed his thumb against his finger, and a small drop of blood appeared. Real flesh. Real blood. It's just human. So-Young watched this exchange with great interest. As the ship's expert on alien life, she was learning valuable information about the Valkyrie. She could see that Zella was confused and curious rather than just angry. "War Prime Zella," So-Young said carefully, "may I ask how many species you have met that could do what our captain just did?" Zella looked at the young woman. "None. 0. It is impossible. And maybe humans are different from the other species you have encountered." Gi-Woo was quietly working at his engineering station while this conversation continued. He was scanning the Valkyrie ship with their sensors, trying to learn about their technology. What he found was very interesting. The alien ship was powerful, but it was built in simple ways. The Valkyrie seemed to prefer brute force over clever engineering. Zella put her energy blade away, but kept her hand near it. Different how? You look weak. Your ship is small. Your weapons are basic. Perhaps, Deho said, but we are still here talking, instead of serving you or dying. That must mean something. The War Prime walked around the bridge, looking at the human equipment and crew. Everything seemed so simple compared to what she was used to. But these humans were not acting like the other species she had conquered. They were not afraid. They were curious. Tell me about your wars, human captain, she said suddenly. Wars? Deho asked. You have had more than one? Many wars? Humans fight each other, and we fight our environment, and we fight anyone who threatens our people. This answer surprised Zella. Most species the Valkyrie had met were either warriors or peaceful. They did not usually have long histories of different types of conflict. What was your biggest war, she asked. Deho thought back to his younger days, the Titan Wars. I was a young soldier then. We fought for control of the mining colonies around Saturn. Who won? Everyone and no one. The war ended when we realized we were destroying what we were fighting for. So we learned to share instead. Share. Zella said the word like it tasted. Bad weaknesses, is it? Soyoung asked. Captain Deho fought in that war for 5 years. He won many battles. But he also learned when to stop fighting. Is wisdom weakness? Zella had no answer for this. In Valkyrie culture, you fought until you won or died. The idea of stopping a war because it was the smart thing to do was completely foreign to her. Min-Ho had been quiet during this exchange. Now he spoke up. War Prime, how long have your people been conquering other worlds? Thousands of years. We are the strongest species in the galaxy. And in all that time, has anyone ever defeated you in battle? Zella's eyes flashed with pride. Never. We are unbeatable. Then why do you need so many ships to capture one small mining vessel? Minho asked with a slight smile. The question hit Zella like a physical blow. She looked around the bridge again and realized something important. She had brought her entire battle group to capture one human ship. But these humans were not running or surrendering. They were asking questions and making her think. You are trying to confuse me with words, she said. No, Deho replied. We are trying to understand you, and we want you to understand us. Gu looked up from his station. Captain, I am reading more Valkyrie ships approaching our position. Many more. How many? Deho asked. At least 50 battleships. They will be here in 1 hour. Zella seemed pleased by this news. My fleet comes to see what is taking so long. When they arrive, you will have no choice but to submit. Or, Soyoung asked, or you will be destroyed completely. Deho walked to the main window and looked out at the stars. He was thinking about his crew and about humanity. If the Valkyrie destroyed them here, Earth would never know what happened. But if they submitted, humanity would become slaves. War Prime Zella, he said without turning around, let me tell you a story about humans. I do not have time for stories. This one is important. It explains why I could touch your blade. Despite herself, Zella was curious. She nodded for him to continue. Long ago, humans lived only on Earth. We were weak compared to many animals. We could not run as fast as horses or fight as well as bears. We had something different. We could work together and we could adapt to anything. Deho turned to face her. When the environment changed, we changed with it. When we faced enemies, we found new ways to fight them. When we encountered problems, we solved them together. What does this have to do with your strange ability, humans? Have been fighting with energy weapons for 300 years. Our bodies have learned to resist them. Our minds have learned to expect the unexpected. We adapt because we must. Soyoung added. We also learn from every species we meet. We do. Not just conquer or submit. We try to understand. Zella felt something she had never experienced before. These humans were making her doubt the only way of life she had ever known. For the first time in her life, she wondered if the Valkyrie Empire might be wrong about something. Your fleet is strong, Deho said. But strength alone may not be enough to defeat humans. We'll see, Zella replied. But her voice was less certain than before. Ju's scanner beeped with new information. Captain, the approaching ships are sending messages to War Prime Zella. They want to know why she has not conquered us yet. Zella looked uncomfortable. Her commanders would expect a quick victory. But these humans were unlike anything she had encountered before. What will you tell them? So Young asked gently. I will tell them that humans require further study before conquest. It was not the complete truth, but it was not a lie either. Zella was beginning to realize that understanding these strange beings might be more important than simply defeating them. The real question was whether her fleet commanders would agree. The Valkyrie fleet arrived exactly 1 hour later, just as Ji Woo had predicted. 50 massive bioships surrounded the new Sol like hungry predators circling their prey. Each ship was 3 times larger than Zella's vessel, and her ship was already 10 times bigger than the human mining ship. War Commander Vex's voice boomed through the communication system. His image appeared on the bridge screens, showing a Valkyrie even larger than Zella, with battle scars covering his armored face. War Prime Zella explained this delay. Why have you not claimed this system for the Empire? Zella looked at the human crew, then back at her commander. The humans require additional study, War Commander. They possess unusual abilities. Abilities? Vex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. They are tiny creatures with weak ships. Destroy them and take their resources. I request permission to continue negotiations, Zella said carefully. Vex's scarred face twisted with anger. You request? You do not request, War Prime. You obey. If you cannot handle these small beings, I will do it myself. The communication ended abruptly. Zella's warriors looked at her with concern. Disobeying a war commander was dangerous, even for a War Prime. Your commander does not seem willing to wait, Daeho observed. Dex has conquered more worlds than any other Valkyrie. Alive, he believes only in overwhelming force. Sa Young was monitoring the alien communications. Captain, the Valkyrie ships are powering up their weapons. They are preparing to attack. Minho immediately moved to the weapons console. Our shields are up, but they will not last long against 50 ships. Gu's fingers flew over his engineering. Controls, Captain. I have an idea. It is crazy, but it might work. Tell me. The Valkyrie ships are very large and powerful, but they move slowly. Our mining equipment includes drilling charges and magnetic grapplers. If we use them correctly, go on. We could turn our mining tools into weapons, not to destroy their ships, but to confuse and slow them down. Daeho smiled. This was exactly the kind of creative thinking that made humans dangerous. Do it. How much time do you need? Give me 10 minutes. You have 5? The Valkyrie fleet began moving into attack formation. Their weapons, charged with energy that made space around them glow red and orange. Zella watched her people prepare for what they thought would be an easy victory. Human captain, she said quietly, your ship cannot defeat my fleet. Surrender. Now and I will try to convince them to let you live as workers. That is very kind of you, War Prime, Daeho replied. But we have another plan. What plan could possibly work against 50 battleships? You will see. Ji Woo worked frantically. To modify their mining equipment, the new Sol had been designed to break apart asteroids and extract valuable minerals. The tools for this job were powerful, but they had never been used as weapons before. Ready, Captain, Ji Woo announced. Minho, take us into the asteroid field. Full speed. Captain, that will put us closer to the enemy ships. Exactly. The new Sol suddenly accelerated toward the largest cluster of asteroids. The Valkyrie fleet followed, confused by this strange tactic. Why would the humans run toward rocks instead of trying to escape? Now, Ji Woo. The mining ship fired its drilling charges into the asteroids around them. But instead of mining the rocks, the charges broke them into thousands of small pieces. Each piece was moving at high speed in different directions. Magnetic grapplers. Now, ship's grapplers, normally used to collect or grab chunks of broken asteroid and hurled them at the Valkyrie ships. The rocks were not large enough to damage the alien vessels, but they created chaos in their formation. What are they doing? Dix demanded over the communication system. The Valkyrie ships tried to maintain their attack formation, but the flying rocks forced them to change course constantly. Their large size, which was usually an advantage, now made them clumsy targets. Phase 2, Daeho ordered So Young, activated a device she had been working on. I have been studying their communication frequencies. I send the right signals. Suddenly half the Valkyrie ships receive false orders telling them to change direction. The other half received different false orders. The need attack formation dissolved into confusion as ships tried to avoid colliding with each other. Impossible, Zella whispered. How did you break our secure communications? We did not break them, So Young explained. We learned them. During our conversation, my computers were analyzing every signal your ship sent and received. Humans are very good at learning languages quickly. Minho piloted the new Soul through the chaos with skill that impressed even the Velkar. Small human ship moved like a fish swimming between whales, always just out of reach of the larger vessels. Captain Ji-woo called out, I am reading weapon charging on the closest ships. They are going to fire soon. Then we go to Phase 3. Minho, take us into the maintenance tunnels. What maintenance tunnels? The ones we are about to make? The new Soul flew directly at the largest Valkyrie bioship. At the last second, it fired its most powerful mining laser. The beam cut a hole, just large enough for the human ship to fly through. They are inside War Commander Dex's ship, one of Zella's warriors reported in amazement. Inside the bioship, New Soul moved through corridors that had never been designed for ship combat. The organic walls were strong, but not prepared. For a mining vessel with cutting tools, Ji-woo worked his engineering magic again. Captain, their ship's systems are biological. I've reversed the polarity on our mineral extract. ... Do it. The mining ship's extractors, designed to pull valuable metals from rocks, began pulling essential minerals from the bioship's walls. The alien vessel's own body began to weaken as its structure lost important elements. Dex's ship is losing power, So Young reported. Their weapons are shutting down, but the other Valkyrie ships were closing in. The new Soul burst out of the damaged bioship and immediately dove toward another asteroid cluster. This is impossible, Dex roared over the communications. One small ship cannot defeat an entire fleet. You are right, Daeho responded calmly. One ship cannot defeat your fleet in direct combat, but we are not fighting you directly. Then, what are you doing? You're showing you that there are many ways to fight. Your people seem to know only one way. The battle continued for 2 more hours. Humans never tried to destroy a Valkyrie ship completely. Instead, they disabled weapons, confused communications, made the larger ships crash into asteroids or each other. Minho led boarding parties onto damaged Valkyrie vessels. But instead of killing the alien crews, the humans rescued, trapped. Valkyrie and provided medical aid to the injured. This confused the alien warriors even more than the strange battle tactics. Why do you help our wounded? One captured Valkyrie asked Minho. Because they are hurt and we can help them, Minho replied simply. But we are your enemies. Right now, yes. But that does not mean we want you to die. Word of this strange human behavior spread through the Valkyrie fleet. Many warriors had never encountered an enemy that showed mercy to prisoners or helped wounded foes. Finally, Dex's voice came over the communication system again. But now he sounded tired instead of angry. Enough human ship we cannot defeat. You with our current tactics, but we have not used our most powerful weapons yet. We have not shown you all of our abilities either, Daeho replied. What do you propose? Single combat. Your strongest warrior against me. Winner takes all. Zella looked at the human captain in shock. You cannot defeat our greatest warrior in personal combat. Maybe not, Daeho admitted. But I can try. I accept, Dex announced. Prepare yourself. Human, you will face me in the old way, with blade and honor. Actually, Daeho said with a smile, I was thinking we could try something new. War Commander Dex transported to the new Soul with ceremonial fanfare. He was even larger than Zella, standing nearly 10 feet tall, with thick armor plating that covered his entire body. Ancient battle scars marked his face and arms, telling stories of countless victories. In his massive hands, he carried 2 energy blades that hummed with deadly power. "I have killed the champions of 100 worlds," Dex announced as he stepped onto the human bridge. "You will be no different, small human." Deho stood calmly in the center of the bridge, wearing only his standard ship captain's uniform. He carried no visible weapons and looked tiny compared to the massive Velkhari warrior. "Before we begin," Deho said, "may I ask about the rules of traditional Velkhari combat?" Dex seemed surprised by the question. Most enemies begged for mercy or tried to delay their death. This human was asking about fighting rules. "There are no rules," Dex replied. "The strong survive, the weak die. Combat ends when one fighter cannot continue, I see. The winner gets to decide what happens to the loser's people, of course. That is the way of conquest." Deho nodded thoughtfully. "Then I propose we add one new rule. If I win, we talk before anyone decides anyone else's fate. It's impossible. Combat decides everything. Words are for the weak. Then let me show you that words and actions can work." Together, the duel began suddenly. Dex moved with surprising speed for such a large being. His energy blades cut through the air where Deho had been standing just moments before. The human captain was no longer there. Deho had rolled. Behind one of the bridge consoles, Dex's blades sliced through the metal equipment, sending sparks flying across the room. "Stand and fight like a warrior," Vex demanded. "I am fighting," Deho replied from his new position, near the emergency tool locker. "But fighting does not always mean standing still." Dex charged forward again, bringing both blades down in. A powerful strike. Deho grabbed a maintenance wrench from the tool locker and used it to deflect one of the energy blades. The metal tool should have been destroyed instantly, but it held long enough for Deho to dodge away from the second blade. "How do you keep touching our weapons without dying?" Dex roared in frustration. "Practice," Deho said simply. "Humans have been fighting energy weapons for a long time. We learn to adapt." The fight moved from the bridge to the corridor outside. Vex's massive size made it difficult for him to maneuver in the narrow human-built hallways. Deho used this advantage, staying just out of reach while the Velkhari warrior struggled with the confined space. "Your ship is built for cowards," Dex complained as he tried to swing his blades in the tight corridor. "Our ship is built for efficiency," Deho corrected. "Every space has a purpose. Every design has a reason." They reached the cargo bay, where there was more room for Vex to fight properly. The war commander immediately pressed his attack, using his superior reach and strength to drive Deho back toward the wall. "Now you have nowhere to run, human." But Deho was not trying to run. He had led Dex to this location on purpose. Cargo bay contained mining equipment, spare parts, and emergency supplies. It was a room full of potential weapons for someone creative enough to use them. Deho now grabbed a magnetic clamp from a nearby crate and threw it at Dex. The clamp attached itself to the Valkyrie's armor plating and began pulling him toward a metal support beam. While Dex struggled to remove the clamp, Deho picked up a cutting torch. "Fighting is not just about strength," Deho said as he ignited the torch. "It is about using everything available to you." Dex finally freed himself from the magnetic clamp and attacked again. This time, Deho used the cutting torch to create a barrier of flame between them. The Velkhari warrior hesitated, not because he was afraid of the fire, but because this type of fighting was completely new to him. "You fight without honor," Dex accused. "I fight to protect my people," Deho replied. "Honor is important, but keeping my crew alive is more important. Your crew." Dex looked around the cargo bay and noticed something strange. "Where are your warriors? Why do they not help you fight?" "Because this is single combat. You challenged me alone. But your people could attack while we fight. That is what most species do. We gave our word that this would be single combat. Humans keep their promises." This statement confused Dex even more. In his experience, weaker species always used tricks and betrayal when facing stronger opponents. But these humans seemed to have a different code of behavior. The fight continued for another hour. Deho led Dex through different sections of the ship, each area presenting new challenges and opportunities. In the engine room, he used steam vents to create cover. In the hydroponics bay, he used growing plants to tangle Dex's movements. Throughout the combat, they continued talking. Dex found himself asking questions about human behavior and tactics. Deho answered honestly while defending himself from the Valkyrie's attacks. "Why do you not simply surrender?" Dex asked during a brief pause in their fighting. "You cannot defeat me in direct combat, because surrender would mean slavery for my people. I cannot accept that. But you will die here. What good does that do your people? Maybe my death will teach you something about humans. Maybe that knowledge will help other humans in the future. You would die for people you will never meet, of course. That is what humans do. We protect each other, even at cost to ourselves." Had never heard such ideas before. The Valkyrie fought for personal glory and the chance to rule others. The concept of dying for strangers was completely foreign to him. "Your species is strange," Dex admitted. "Your species is strange to us too," Deho replied. But strange does not mean wrong. They reached the observation deck where large windows showed the stars outside. Both fighters were tired now. Dex's armor was damaged in several places, and Deho had cuts on his arms from near misses with the energy blades. "This fighting could continue for many more hours," Dex observed. "Yes, but eventually one of us will make a mistake, and the other will win. Maybe, or maybe we will both learn something more valuable than winning." Dex lowered his weapon slightly. "What could be more valuable than victory? Understanding? If you kill me, you learn nothing new about humans. If I somehow defeat you, your people learn nothing about alternatives to conquest." Alternatives. War Commander, how many species has your empire conquered? Thousands. And how many of them joined you willingly? None. The strong do not ask permission from the weak. But what if some of them could have been allies instead of slaves? What if their knowledge and abilities could have made your empire stronger? Vex considered this idea. "You suggest cooperation instead of conquest." "I suggest that maybe there are different kinds of strength." At that moment, Soyoung's voice came over the ship's communication system. "Captain, I am receiving a priority message from the Valkyrie fleet. Another alien force has entered the system. They're requesting permission to speak with both human and Valkyrie commanders." And Deho looked at each other, then toward the windows. In the distance, new ships were appearing. These vessels were different from both human and Valkyrie designs. They were sleek and silver, moving with deadly grace through space. "I know those ships," Vex said quietly. His voice carried an emotion Deho had never heard from a Valkyrie before. Fear. "Who are they, the hegemony?" "They are the ones who destroyed the original Valkyrie homeworld long ago. They are the reason we became conquerors." Deho understood immediately. The Valkyrie were not naturally aggressive. They'd become warriors because they had been victims first. "Then perhaps," Deho said, "it is time for enemies to become allies." The silver ships of the hegemony moved through space like sharks, sensing blood in the water. Their sleek hulls reflected starlight in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Even from a distance, both humans and Valkyrie could feel the menace radiating from these vessels. Dex put away his energy blades and walked to the observation window. His massive frame seemed smaller somehow, as if the sight of the hegemony ships had drained something vital from him. "How many ships?" he asked quietly. Soyoung's voice came through the communication system. "Scanning now, War Commander. Count. At least 200 vessels. They are much larger than our ships, but smaller than yours." 200, Dex repeated. "They always come in overwhelming numbers." Deho joined the Valkyrie warrior at the window. "You said they destroyed your homeworld. How long ago?" 3,000 years. My people were farmers and artists then. We built beautiful cities and created wonderful music. We had no weapons of war because we had no enemies." "What happened?" Dex was quiet for a long moment. "Money," spoke again. His voice was filled with old pain. "They came with promises of trade and friendship. We welcomed them. We showed them our cities, our culture, our technology. We trusted them, and they betrayed that trust. They studied us for months. They learned our weaknesses, our military capabilities, our population centers. Then one day, without warning, they attacked. In 3 days, they had killed half our people and enslaved the rest. Deho understood now why the Valkyria had become conquerors. You escaped, some of us. A few ships managed to flee the system. We swore we would never be victims again. We would become stronger than anyone else. We would rule before we could be ruled. So you became like them. Turned to look at the human captain. We became what we needed to become to survive. Did you survive? Or did you just become a different kind of victim? The question hit Dex like a physical blow. He had never thought about it that way before. For 3,000 years, the Valkyrie had lived in fear of being conquered again. Everything they did, every world they took, every species they enslaved, was driven by that fear. We are strong now, Dex said, but his voice lacked conviction. Are you? You have spent 3,000 years running from your past instead of healing. From it, you have become the thing you feared most. Zella's voice came through the ship's communication system. Captain Deho, War Commander Dex, the hegemony is sending a message to all ships in the system.
Oh?
The message appeared on the observation deck screen. A creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a snake spoke in a voice that sounded like grinding glass. Attention primitive species, you are trespassing in hegemony space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Your ships, your people, and your worlds will become property of the hegemony. You have 1 hour to comply. The message ended abruptly. 1 hour, Deho said. Not much time to make a decision. There is no decision to make, Dex replied. We cannot defeat them. Have too many ships and their technology is more advanced than ours. So you will surrender? Never. We will fight and die before we serve them again. Even though fighting means the death of your entire fleet? Even then. Deho studied the Valkyrie commander's face, saw determination there, but also despair. Dex truly believed there were only 2 choices, surrender or death. What if there was a third option? Deho asked. There is no third option against the hegemony. There is always a third option. Humans are very good at finding them. What do you mean? I mean, we work together. Your strength combined with our creativity, your ships and our tactics, your warriors and our problem-solving abilities. Lex laughed bitterly. You think 50 Valkyrie ships and 1 human mining vessel can defeat 200 hegemony battlecruisers? I think 2 different species working together might be able to do something that neither could do alone. Impossible. We have been enemies. For hours, we do not trust each other. And we learn to trust each other very quickly. Saul Young's voice interrupted their conversation. Captain, I am receiving a priority message from the hegemony fleet. They want to speak with the commanders of both human and Valkyrie forces. Put it through. The spider-snake creature appeared on the screen again. This time its voice carried amusement. How interesting. The barbaric Valkyrie have encountered the primitive humans. We remember both of your species from our records. Do you know about humans? Deho asked. Oh yes. We have been watching your development for some time. You show promise as a warrior. Species, but you are still too weak to be useful. In perhaps another 1,000 years, you might be worth enslaving. And the Valkyrie, former slaves, who forgot their place? We have been hunting them across the galaxy for 3 millennia. We finished what we started. Dex stepped forward, his anger overcoming his fear. We are not the same species you conquered long ago. We are stronger now. Are you? Still think in terms of simple force and domination? You've learned nothing of true power? What is true power? Deho asked. Control, not just of ships and weapons, but of fear and hope. We do not simply conquer species, we break their spirits. We make them grateful for slavery because the alternative is extinction. That is not power, Deho said calmly. That is weakness disguised as strength. The creature's many eyes focused on the human captain. Explain. True power comes from creation, not destruction. From bringing out the best in others, not crushing their spirits. From building something better than what existed before. Philosophy from a mining ship captain. How amusing. Not philosophy. Experience. My species has learned that cooperation makes us stronger than domination ever could. Your species is young and naive. It will learn better when you serve us. Actually, Deho said with a smile, I think you might learn something from us. The communication ended as the hegemony commander cut the connection. That went well, Thex said sarcastically. Better than you think. I learned something important. What? They're afraid of something? Hey. Otherwise, why would they need to break spirits instead of just winning battles? Why would they hunt the Velkari for 3,000 years instead of just defeating you once and moving on? Dex considered this. What could they fear? Unity, cooperation, species working together instead of fighting each other or serving them. You think that is why they attacked my people originally? I think they saw the Velkari becoming something beautiful and peaceful, and that terrified them. Peace is the enemy of those who profit from war, and humans. They called us primitive, but they also said we showed promise as warriors. They are watching us, waiting to see what we become. So what do we become? Deho looked out at the approaching hegemony fleet, then at the Velkari ships holding defensive positions nearby. We become something they have never seen before. Become allies. In 1 hour, we cannot learn to work together well enough to defeat them. Then we better learn fast. War Commander, will you help me save both our peoples? Dex looked at the human captain for a long moment. Everything in his warrior training told him that trusting an enemy was foolish. Of human behavior told him that these people were different from any species he had encountered. What do you need from me? Thex asked. Your trust, your ships, and your willingness to try something that has never been done before. And what do you offer in return? Hope. The possibility that neither of our species has to die today, and maybe, if we succeed, a future where the Velkari can stop running from their past. Vex extended his massive hand to the human captain. If we die as allies. Deho shook the offered hand. If we live as friends. Outside the observation window, the hegemony fleet continued its approach. But for the first time in 3,000 years, the Velkari were not facing them alone. The next hour passed like minutes, as humans and Velkari worked together for the first time in galactic history. Deho and Dex stood in the command center of the largest Velkari ship, watching their crews learn to communicate and coordinate. Despite having no common language except the universal desire to survive, Gi-Wu worked alongside Velkari engineers, his small human hands flying over alien control panels while massive Velkari technicians watched in amazement. Their bioships respond to thought as much as touch, he reported excitedly. If we can link our computer systems to their organic networks, do it, Deho and Dex said at the same time. They looked at each other and almost smiled, so Young had established communication links between all the ships in their combined fleet. Captain, the Velkari have different ideas about battle formations, but their basic tactics are sound. If we modify them with human unpredictability, combine them, Deho ordered. Use the best of both approaches. Minho was training mixed teams of human and Velkari fighters. The size difference made cooperation challenging, but both species were learning. The Velkari are incredibly strong, he reported, but they fight in straight lines, humans think. In circles and curves, together, we can be three-dimensional. War Prime Zella joined them in the command center. The hegemony fleet has stopped advancing. They're waiting for our surrender. How much time is left? Dex asked. 7 minutes. Are we ready? Deho asked his crew. As ready as we can be in 1 hour, Ji-Woo replied. The ship connections? are working. We can share power, weapons, and control systems between human and Valkyrie vessels. The communication network is stable, So-Young added. All ships can talk to each other instantly. Joint strike teams are prepared, Minho reported. It is not perfect, but it will work. Dex looked at his own officers. They nodded their readiness. War Prime Zella signaled the fleet. We fight as one people today. Should I send a response to the hegemony surrender demand? So-Young asked. Yes, Deho said. Then we have an answer for them. The spider snake creature appeared on the screen again, its many eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Have you decided to surrender peacefully? We have decided to give you something you have never received before, Deho replied. And what is that? Fair fight. The creature's amusement vanished. You dare to threaten us with your pathetic alliance. We have destroyed civilizations that lasted for millions of years. But you have never faced anything like this, Dex added, stepping into view. You have never fought species that chose to stand together instead of fall apart. Your cooperation will last exactly as long as it takes us to start killing you. Then you will turn on each other like all the others. Maybe, Deho admitted, but maybe not. There is only one way to find out. The communication ended as the hegemony fleet resumed its advance. All ships, Dex broadcast to the combined fleet, remember what we fight for today. Not conquest, not glory, freedom. All ships, Deho added. Remember what we learned today. Different does not mean enemy. Strange does not mean wrong. Today we prove that the galaxy can be better than it has been. The battle began with the hegemony fleet firing massive energy beams that could destroy entire cities. But the combined human Valkyrie fleet was not where the hegemony expected them to be, using human tactical thinking. The Allied ships had spread throughout the asteroid field in small groups. When the hegemony fired their devastating weapons, they hit empty space and floating rocks. Phase 1, Deho called out. The Valkyrie bioships, powered by human engineering modifications, moved faster than they ever had before. The human ships, protected by Valkyrie energy shields, could survive hits that would normally destroy them. Gu's voice came through the communication network. The combined power systems are working perfectly. We have more energy than either fleet could generate. Alone, the Allied ships struck the hegemony formation from 6 different directions at once. Valkyrie strength broke through enemy shields, while human creativity found weak points in enemy defenses, but the hegemony had overwhelming numbers. For every enemy ship the Allies damaged, 3 more took its place. They are surrounding us, Zella reported. We cannot win by normal battle tactics. Then we use abnormal tactics, Minho suggested. Phase 2. The joint strike teams that Minho had trained began boarding hegemony ships. Valkyrie warriors provided strength and protection while human fighters provided speed and unpredictability. Together, they moved through enemy vessels like nothing the hegemony had ever faced. They are not trying to destroy our ships, a confused hegemony commander reported. They are taking control of them. Within an hour, 20 hegemony vessels had been captured by boarding teams. But more importantly, So-Young was learning how hegemony technology worked. Captain, I think I understand their control systems, she announced. The hegemony uses fear to control everything, even their own ships. If we can disrupt that fear, do it. So-Young began broadcasting on hegemony frequencies. But instead of sending threats or demands, she sent something the hegemony had never heard before. She sent messages of hope. To all enslaved crews in the hegemony fleet. Her voice reached every ship. You do not have to serve those who hurt you. There is another way. Join us and be free. The effect was immediate and shocking. Hegemony ships began firing on each other as enslaved crews rebelled against their masters. The perfect unity of the enemy fleet dissolved into chaos. Impossible, the Spider Snake commander hissed. Our slaves are completely loyal. No one is. Completely loyal to those who break their spirits, Deho replied. You forgot that hope is stronger than fear. You will destroy everything rather than lose control. Then you will destroy nothing but yourselves. The hegemony commander was right about one thing. As their fleet fell apart, they began activating self-destruction systems rather than allow their ships to be captured. But by then, it was too late. Most of their enslaved crews had already escaped 2 Allied vessels. The battle ended not with a great explosion, but with a choice. The remaining hegemony ships could flee or surrender. Most chose to flee. Those who surrendered were surprised to find themselves treated with mercy instead of revenge. 3 days after the battle, Deho stood in the observation lounge of a Valkyrie ship, watching the rescued slaves from dozens of different species learn to work together. Vex joined him at the window. "What happens now?" the Valkyrie commander asked. "Now we build something new? An alliance of free peoples who choose cooperation over conquest. The hegemony will return with more ships, probably. But next time they will face not just humans and Valkyrie, but all the species we freed today. And all the species those species will free tomorrow." Vex was quiet for a moment. "My people have been warriors for so long, I am not sure we remember how to be anything else. Then learn. We will teach you if you teach us. Humans are good at many things, but we are still young. We need teachers, and if we fail, if we cannot change," Deho smiled, "then we keep trying until we succeed. That is what humans do. We never give up on the possibility that things can be better." 6 months later, the Human Valkyrie Alliance had grown to include 50 different species. They had established the first free trade networks in galactic history, where species exchanged knowledge and resources without conquest or slavery. Zella visited Earth as the first Valkyrie ambassador to humanity. She spent her days learning about human culture and her evenings telling human children stories about the stars. One evening, a young girl asked her, "Warprim Zella, were you really a monster before you met Captain Deho?" Zella thought carefully. About her answer, "I was not a monster, little one. I was someone who had forgotten how to be anything else. Your captain did not change me. He reminded me that I had a choice." "What choice?" "The choice to be something better than my fears. Choice to build instead of break. The choice to turn enemies into friends." "Is that what makes humans special?" "No," Zella said with a smile. "That is what makes all people special when they remember they have that choice." The little girl ran off to play with her friends, but her question stayed with Zella. Later, she sent a message to Deho, who was commanding the Allied fleet in a distant system. "You asked me once if I was sure I wanted to threaten you," she wrote. "I realize now that the real question was whether I was brave enough to stop being afraid. Thank you for showing me that courage is not about being the strongest. It is about choosing to be kind when you could choose to be cruel." Deho read the message while standing on the bridge of his new ship, a vessel built with both human and Valkyrie technology. Around him, his crew worked together exactly as they always had, but now they were joined by Valkyrie, former hegemony slaves, representatives from a dozen other species. He thought about the day when Zella had first held her blade to his throat, and how everything had changed in that single moment when he chose to respond with curiosity instead of fear. Sometimes, he realized the most important battles were not won with weapons or tactics. They were won with the simple decision to see the person behind the monster, and to offer them a chance to become something better. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of possibilities. And as long as people were willing to choose hope over fear, those possibilities were endless.